What's up, YTPC? Uncle Willie coming to you on this Friday Eve from the coop, from the south side again. Me and Froggy. I was asked, I guess last week, somebody said, yeah, I never thought of it before to ask you, but is your frog's name Morton? It took me a second to catch on, Frog Morton. I was like, no, we referred to him as Froggy. And I've even called him Kermit a couple times, but never really thought of giving him a name, but I thought that was cool. Is your frog name Morton? Makes sense. Well, I want to do a couple things. First of all, I want to do a VR for St. David's Pipes. He's doing his 500 sub gall. And when I saw him last night or this morning as I was browsing, I noticed that he's at like 520, I think. Congratulations and good luck on building farther. That 500, I thought that 100 is your first milestone, and I was so grateful to hit 100 when I hit 100. Then I thought I would do a goal at 250 and then 300, and every milestone I kept thinking about it, but I didn't want to do it and get false subscribers. So stay tuned tomorrow for a different kind of GAW. So back to David's. Again, congratulations, Dave, on hitting 500 plus. Dave wanted us to do a VR. If you are a presenter, if not, you can just leave a comment. Go back to his page. I'm not going to link it. You'll have to find it on your own. You're going to have to you're gonna have to put boots on the ground if you want to find out about it. I'm not just gonna make it snap of the finger that simple for you. Sorry, not sorry. So Dave asked, who would you consider your you can take it a couple different ways, but who is your favorite famous pipe smoker? And I watched him this morning, and it's kind of funny, but it very realistically, Popeye the Sailor. He is the number one. Then he said a couple others that was going up in the categories, but Popeye being number one, and I could see that. He's been around for forever. Yep, that's a good answer, but that's not my answer. A lot of you people know that when I do reviews on tobacco, I always go to tobacco reviews, and to get a guideline of what some other people think of it. And of course, I always bring up my hero, Jim Inks. I say that sarcastically, but deep down inside, I have great admiration for that individual. I wished I could taste what he can taste. I don't believe that he is just writing down flavors from a flavor wheel. I believe the man has a distinctive palate that he can pull out flavors of different tobaccos that you and I can't. So my favorite pipe smoker is Jim Inks, Jim Amash from Marvel Comics. He has illustrated I don't know how many comic books and or anything else. When it comes to drawing, he is the man. he's reviewed over 2,700 tobaccos. Tobacco companies would send him tobacco for him to review it. And that's pretty daggone swift. If you're picking out flavors good enough that tobacco companies are sending you tobaccos to review, you got a pretty good palate to pick out flavors. So my favorite famous pipe smoker is Jim Amash, James Amash, Jim Inks. Not only does he do reviews and whatnot, he enjoyed the Edward G. Robinson tobacco so much when they discontinued it. He lobbied for it day and night, basically, and got it put back on the market. If you go to tobacco reviews, type in a tobacco. 9 out of 10 tobaccos that you type in, if you want to look up for a review, there'll be a Jim Inks review on there, and his icon, his picture on his identification picture, whatever you want to call it, his profile picture, is a picture of Edward G. Robinson off of the pipe tobacco, Edward G. Robinson. So there you have it, Dave. My famous pipe smoker is Jim Inks. Yep, Jim Inks. He is the man. No matter how sarcastically I always say, he reminds me of Shane Ireland and all this stuff. He's a good dude. I admire him, and I take his reviews full to heart. So there you have it. Now, if you want to stick around a little bit longer, I'm going to talk about a couple pipes. I'm going to talk about, first up, the one I'm smoking. The one that I let go out. Somebody asked me if I own a Peterson system, because they think that might be their next acquisition in their pad. And wanted to know my thoughts. I feel honored when people look to me for recommendations and whatnot. And I don't feel bad if I recommend something and you don't like it. It's just the way it is. Some people will recommend a restaurant and you go try it and you don't like it. You can't hold it against the people that recommended it, because their tastes are different. So if you ask me about a certain thing, I'm going to give you my honest answer. And if you go upon my honest answer, I didn't steer you wrong. You just form your own opinion once you get the said product in acquisition, whatever how you want to word that politically correct fanciness. But anyway, I didn't know exactly what you meant by a system, So this one, it's a Peterson. It's a shape 312. Yeah. And it just says system on it. But when I looked it up, it's a system spigot. I like this pipe. Let me show you a couple things about it that's different from others. And I don't know if it's different from any of these same one of the 312. But it's a beautiful pipe. It's got the bird's eye on both sides, the cross grain, the military, army mount, military mount, whatever you want to call it. It has the P-lip, which I don't mind the P-lip. I was looking at leaves falling over there. I think a squirrel was running up the tree. Sorry. I'm like an aardvark. Sometimes I can get off track very easily. I could be walking along and be like, ants. And I just go for the ant hill like an aardvark. But anyway, back on topic. I don't mind the P-lip. I kind of enjoy it. I bought a Savinelli P-lip. It was called the dry system. And it had the Savinelli style P-lip. I wasn't crazy about it, so I had Boswell's build or fabricate another stem to go on it. Now I smoke that. When I smoke it, is back and forth, P-lip, no P-lip, P-lip, you know, whatever. So I am a fan of the P-lip, at least this one. I like the way that it's a military mount with it metal on metal. I do have a Spigot style that only has a metal band around the stummel, not on the stem. But this one, I call it an overbent, because if you hold this horizontal, usually a stem would be horizontal or parallel with the bowl. So if you were to take the stem and run it through and take the bowl and run it back through that way, they would be parallel. This one, however, starts going down as this stays horizontal. And you'll see what I'm talking about with this one. See how the stem is horizontal to the bowl? This one, however, is not. I like it, because it hangs really low and under out of your way, where this one don't. You can hold it like that, but it's different in the bit. The button makes it different. Comfortability. One thing you need to know about the system, or about spigots, this one is a new Grange spigot, and it just says new Grange, but it's a spigot, military mount. The thing about it is these pipes are designed to gurgle, so don't be upset when you get a pipe and you start smoking it and it starts gurgling. And with these pipes, it's harder to do the old shakeout method, because the draft hole in the stem is in the center. It's in the center of the stem. If you line that up to the center, it does not line up with the draft hole that's drilled into the bowl, because that has to go at a more straighter angle so it can hit the center of the bowl. So it's going to be a little higher than center. So what they do is they drill it down, then they will drill it through the top to hit center of the bowl, depending on how deep the bowl is. Depends on which way they have to drill it. This way. it creates a reservoir. So as you're smoking it, and the moisture that builds up in it will come up, and it'll land here in the reservoir right here. This pipe has the same thing, a reservoir, and the straight stem pipe has a reservoir. One way you can tell is once you have the pipe together, you run a pipe cleaner through it, and it will not go from bit to bowl. This is a walnut spigot bulldog shaped 150, yeah, 150, and it's the same way. The only thing is, this one is drilled, and I wish you could see it, but it's drilled at the top, so it's the same way. It has a reservoir, but this pipe doesn't gurgle as much because the reservoir is flat, so it doesn't build a puddle. If you follow me, this one will build a puddle. If you were to smoke it like this, it wouldn't build that puddle. So this one, you don't hear it gurgle as much, but it does create moisture. But with it being flat, it doesn't gurgle unless if you smoke that pipe like this, the moisture most likely is not gonna run back in the bowl unless you chief it and you get a big puddle build up, and then it has to go somewhere. With this pipe being a straight pipe, it's gonna build up down through here, and shaking it will shake out whatever gets up in the stem, but it won't shake it completely. All it'll do is when you fling it like that, it covers the whole inside of the shank of the stumble with the reservoir, because this hole and this hole, this hole and this hole aren't in line. They're like this. So when you shake it, the water isn't coming down a straight line like with a typical billiard. A typical billiard, you can run a pipe cleaner from bit to bowl, and you can look in the bowl and see it come in when you stick it in there. That's going to relieve 99% of the moisture when you fling it like that. A system pipe will fool you, and you'll think that you relieved it, but all you've done is spread it. And if it doesn't absorb and you keep smoking it, it's just going to run and get back down in the reservoir and start gurgling again. That is all my take on my understanding of how the pipe works, from looking at the mechanics of it, how it's drilled and how it operates and how it smokes, how it collects moisture, how it distributes the moisture. That's just all my thoughts. If you go to Peterson and read up on their spigot pipe, I'm sure you'll find no information in there about anything that I just said. This is all my experience and my thoughts on how these system pipes work. So if you've watched it for this 10 minutes of my explanation, I would get one and make sure it's got the silver. One thing about it is you can take it apart when it's hot. You shouldn't have to take a pipe apart when it's hot, but when it has a reservoir, sometimes you have to, because just shaking it don't get rid of the gurgle. It only stops it for a minute, and then once it all runs back down into the reservoir and puddles up, gurgles again. If you take the stem off and run a pipe cleaner in there that's bent and run that end down in there, that will absorb what's in the reservoir. So I hope this was helpful for you. I'm gonna jump at this point. And remember, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. And with that being said, until next time, you know what to do. Stuff them and puff them.